Start with the 12 tribes,
Okay.
which is the less horrific of the two.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yes, you are.
I am. How am I?
You are. You just know them as the Yellow Deli cult.
Wait, the sandwich shop?
That's sandwich
Chattanooga?
shop. Yeah, that's the one. Yep,
That's a cult?
that's a cult.
Wait, how's a sandwich shop a cult? Now I'm
They
confused.
the cult runs the business, sir.
Okay.
They run the business.
Okay, well now you've got my curiosity piqued. I mean, I've gone by that sandwich shop 100 times. Never stopped there, but
I've never eaten in there either, but I've heard they have very good sandwiches. So if any of you have in your city a restaurant called the Yellow Deli, know that this is run by a cult known as the 12 Tribes.
and if you're eating there, maybe give us a review in the comments because maybe we should check it out.
Yeah, like you know what? Let's go eat there, and then maybe next week we'll give them an update about how the food was.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get
Horrific
into
cult, delicious sandwich. I mean, it balances out. I think.
I'm not saying they don't have some serious issues. They're just not as horrific as the next one we'll get to.
Okay, well that's
All right.
good.
But let's talk about the 12 tribes.
A sandwich cult.
Yes.
That should be good.
Now, the 12 Tribes was founded in 1972 by a man named Elbert Gene Spriggs in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That just sounds like a cult leader's name.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Albert Gene Spriggs.
Now, it was founded in Chattanooga. Like I said, we were talking about, we're actually from near Chattanooga, so we know where the restaurant is here, but it is actually very widespread international at this point.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. It's not just around here. Now, Spriggs was an Army veteran and a former teacher, and a very religious upbringing. And the cult actually got its start with him working with a youth group that they called the Light Brigade.
The Light Brigade?
Yeah, it's
Like from the poem?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Cringy name, but they decided to call it that because they would always meet in this coffee shop called the Lighthouse.
Ours is but to do and die. I mean, that sounds like a creepy cult, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and they weren't even really a cult at this point, right? But
The way that poem goes,
oh yeah. Well, they it did sort of evolve from just this youth group that got together and talked about religion to where they actually started living together communally.
that does seem like a really good anthem for a cult, though.
It is.
Ours is not to reason why.
Yeah, that's
Ours is
right.
but to do and die.
The noble. How many was it? 600?
I don't remember.
I don't remember
It's
the
been
number.
ages
Yeah.
since I've read that, too.
Yeah, and little Tennyson. But right, like I said, they started to live together communally, and while they were having their own religious meetings and living together, they actually started going to a church, a Presbyterian church together.
Mhm.
And I guess the cult really got its start as its own religion when they went to church one day, and it had been canceled for Super Bowl.
Oh.
And they're like, "Oh, this is not a true religion." So that they start their own church group and their own
I
religion.
can see where you might think that your religion's been watered down a little when it's been canceled due to Super Bowl.
No, yeah, I completely understand. Though you won't have as many people skipping that particular service.
I mean, my ass is going to be watching the Super Bowl, but
Yeah, if I was a preacher, sir, I'd probably cancel services for the Super Bowl.
yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah, as well as any other big games. Anyway, let's keep moving. So, like I said, they start the Vine Christian Community Church, which is just their own little private religious group for their youth group, and it starts to grow. And they start the first Yellow Deli restaurant in Chattanooga, and this is how they're supporting their communal lifestyle.
Oh, so we have the initial one near us.
Well, not actually. The first one is closed. This is a new one that was reopened in 2008. They had to leave Chattanooga back in the 70s.
Were they like run out or something?
Sort of, yeah. Well, not necessarily run out, but they weren't welcome anymore.
Okay.
All right, we'll get to that in just a little bit. Like I said, they started the Vine Christian Community Church. That was the original name for it. Well, after the Light Brigade, it became the Vine Christian Community Church. And they started to spread out. They would build a Yellow Deli in a new city, and then they would put a commune in that city as well to run the restaurant and spread their religion in that area.
So they did live in communes?
Yes, yeah, all of them live communally. Maybe not all together, but they have separate communes, each for every business, right? Now,
Do they not hire anyone that's not part of the commune?
no, you can't work. You cannot work in the Yellow Deli or any of their other other businesses
Mhm.
if you're not a member of the church living communally with them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also,
I guess it makes sense.
when you join them, you have to give all of your wealth and possessions to the group.
Well, that's pretty much par for the course.
No,
of
it
cults.
is. Yeah, just just so everyone knows, you don't get to retain any of your own things, unless you can hide it from them very well. I don't know. But like their beliefs are similar to very fundamental Christians, with some messianic Jewish belief thrown in there.
Mhm.
They try to obey, the law, the way they dress,
Like the Old Testament.
well, yes, yeah, they do. Though they're really more trying to to create a church that is the way that it's described by Paul in Acts.
Okay.
They're wanting to return to that type of church, and they believe that Jesus can't return until Israel is actually restored, and they need to recreate the 12 tribes of Israel in 12 different locations around the globe, and they think that they're going to be these 12 tribes.
What about the Jews?
Yeah, they think it's them.
So they're the Jews.
No, they just think it's these
So this
new
is
fundamental Christians are going to be the 12 tribes of
okay. So
Israel.
it's replacement theology.
Yeah,
basically.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
pretty much.
gotcha.
Yeah, they
For anyone who doesn't know what that is, depending on like some denominations of Christianity believe that when the Jews rejected Jesus, that the Christians effectively became his new chosen people. That's what replacement theology is.
Also, yeah, and
I
he
hate myself for knowing that.
well, they've also been accused of being rather anti-Semitic in their teachings, which I guess if you're wanting
That's
to,
pretty par for the course.
I guess
of
if you're
this kind of
wanting to
thing, man.
supplant the 12 tribes of Israel with yourselves, you have to be a bit
Did
anti-Semitic.
they name
right?
themselves after the 12 tribes? Like,
Well, no, they just called the
Is there
group
a
the 12
Gad or an
tribes.
Asher there?
No, they just called themselves the 12 tribes. But that is not at this point. At this point, they're still the Vine Community Church, the Vine Christian Community Church.
Okay.
But as they start to spread out and their group grows, their commune begins to grow, the Chattanooga community gets sort of disturbed by it because they're saying, oh, this is a cult. And they're recruiting our kids and stuff. They don't like it, right? They think their kids have been brainwashed, and they're getting a lot of negative attention, negative media attention, a lot of protests about them. And they stay there for a while, but as this continues, they decide that they're going to leave Chattanooga and actually all of their other areas, and they move the entire group to Island Pond, Vermont.
Okay.
And they
Any particular reason why they chose that location?
Well, there had been a church that had invited Spriggs to come there and be their pastor. But he didn't want to become another church's pastor, but he did move his group there, and I think that church started to join in with them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they renamed themselves the Northeast Kingdom Community Church at that point, in Vermont. Now, one thing we should talk about now that we're in Vermont is that this group has got a lot of allegations of child abuse against them. Now, this is not sexual abuse. I've never heard any allegations of sexual abuse with the 12 tribes, but they believe very strongly in corporal punishment.
Okay.
And they actually want to go by the Bible, and they use a rod to beat their children.
So they're taking the whole spare the rod, spoil
Yeah.
the child thing pretty literally.
Mhm. Yeah. Now more recently, I've
So
seen
they beat children with rods?
yes.
Okay. Fun
Yeah,
stuff.
that's the only way they did it was with a rod. And I've seen some more modern interviews where they say it's like a thin plastic rod, kind of like a balloon stick.
Oh, okay. That makes it much better.
But all of the old allegations all said it was a wooden rod.
I mean, at this point, rod alone.
No, I'm just saying. I think the wooden one could be is a lot stronger, could hit a lot harder. I don't know. It depends. You don't do it either way. I'm just trying to report what I've researched here.
Okay.
About what they do. Now, here's where things get very sticky with this, because in the 12 tribes, any adult can punish any child without even telling their parents about it.
So it's like communal ownership of the children?
Yes, but it's more communal ownership of the punishment rather than just communal ownership of the children. Like everyone helps raise the children, but you still have your parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that someone that's not a parent can go beat this child with a rod for anything, basically.
That is so counter to the typical instincts of a parent. I don't even understand how brainwashed would you have to be to let someone else like beat your child without you even knowing about it.
You'd have to be very brainwashed.
I mean, to beat your child, period, is bad enough. But,
because I would take the rod to whoever did that.
Yeah.
At that point, and a few other things to them. But
I mean, when you're so brainwashed that you'll allow your child to be abused, that's pretty rough.
It's very brainwashed.
So you're pretty far gone.
Now, and this is not just 3 licks or something, right? Some of these reports of the beatings will go on for hours.
The hell?
Hours. Yeah.
How does that even work?
I honestly do not understand it myself, but I know that they would do it.
Seems like you'd beat a kid to death in that amount of time.
I guess you have to take your time.
Well, that's disturbing.
It's very disturbing.
Okay.
And while they were in Vermont, there was one instance of a higher member of the church actually taking a 13-year-old girl and stripping her down to her underwear and beating her with a rod for 7 hours. Allegedly.
Okay. You said there was no sexual shit going on. But at that point...
Yes, I agree. Now, while I said there are no allegations of sexual abuse, I don't feel like if there's any way that you're doing this to a child, like these guys are probably getting some sadistic sexual pleasure
that's what that sounds like.
I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that is completely true. I just don't want to mix up the allegations against these guys against the allegations of sexual abuse against the next ones we're going to talk about, because it's a lot different.
That sounds pleasant.
Yeah. Now, when this happened, the girl's father took her to the hospital and then went to the police when he found out about it. So think about God, this guy didn't stay brainwashed, right?
Right.
And there's an investigation launched into their church, their cult, whatever you call them, and the police end up going into the commune and they take 112 children. They take them away and they're going to...
Okay, so somebody has stepped in to help these kids.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually not a huge fan of taking children away from parents under most circumstances, but that seems pretty damn justifiable there.
Well, let's talk about what happened here.
Okay.
They took away the children. They're going to go and inspect them all for signs of abuse. So maybe they can break up this cult, get these children to safety. But there's a problem with it.
Okay.
Lots of members of the church, the commune, whatever you call them, they go to court, they go to the judge, and they're, pleading their case. They're being, very persuasive, I suppose, because the judge decides that the police, by taking all of these children, have overreached the scope of their warrant. And they have to return all the children before any of them are ever, medically inspected.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, because there's a good chance right here.
And what's awful about that is that, I mean, anytime the parents are sanctioning the abuse, it makes it much more difficult for the courts to do anything.
Right. Now, I forgot to say, this was in 1984 when this raid on that community happens. But
maybe there are protections today in place that would prevent that. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I do know that the allegations, it's not limited to this one time. Obviously, these have come out for a long, long time. And even today, they'll admit they still use corporal punishment, but maybe it's toned down now, or maybe they're just good at covering it up. I don't know. But there's more than just that. The tribes would try to hide children from their parents. Now, this is something that would happen later on once they started to expand again. Because they did. After they're in Vermont for a while, they started to expand again as they prospered some more. Mm-hmm. And they went across the U.S. and international, right? But let's say they get a hold of some children, right? Like there have been instances of one parent joining the community, but the other parent doesn't. And the other parent's trying to save their kids from this cult.
Yeah.
Right? Well, in a lot of cases, they'll take these kids and send them to another city in another state or even another country to hide them from that parent.
Oh, that's horrific. I would be furious.
It's very, very bad. There's even one instance where a couple had split up and the dad was taking care of the kids and he just gave them to the 12 tribes. And the mom had to go try to find them. And it was
I bet
very,
that was
very hard on
horrific.
her. Yeah. And in other cases, they'll take siblings and split them up. Like, you know, a brother and sister could be in different states, you know, so they don't have that. They don't want them to have that, that relationship with each other to lean on. They want it to, they want to kind of break
them down.
Yeah. Well, and actually Spriggs has said, had said in the past that the reason that they want to beat these children is they want to break their spirit by the time they're 4 years old, because that's the only way they'll be a good Christian.
Break their spirit by the time they're 4?
Mm-hmm.
Those words came out of his fucking mouth.
Yep.
What a twisted son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, he's evil. He's evil.
And you say the next one's worse?
The next one's way worse than these guys. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds fun.
Now, as I said, they start to expand again, and they're opening Yellow Delis again. They've got more businesses too. It's not just the Yellow Deli. They start some printing businesses, construction businesses, farms. They grow organic stuff on their farms. A lot of that's just, you know, for ingredients for their delis, and they even produce cosmetics in one area. Eventually, they even returned to Chattanooga. As I said, like 2008, they came back to Chattanooga and built another Yellow Deli. But, you know, there's a lot of other things they've done. Like we've mentioned the worst of it at this point, but there have been some other controversies I should mention, at least with this cult. For one, for a while, they were producing cosmetics for Estee Lauder, big company, right? But Estee Lauder found out that there were children as young as 14 working to produce these.
So it was basically a sweatshop?
Basically, yeah, like a sweatshop. Now, there were adults too, but there were kids just laboring in there, right? And Estee Lauder like just broke off with them completely.
Yeah.
Obviously, as anyone would. But again, you know, they're making these kids work. And that's a good example of what they do with these kids. They don't give them...
How do they even get away with that legally?
I think it's just because it's a religious issue. I mean, as long as they're employees, they're not paid. They probably have a parent in there with them.
Are there religious exemptions to child labor laws?
No, but let's say...
I know that there are agricultural exemptions, but even those are just minor. Like you can... Like I think it's like a year younger and you can pay them a little less.
Well, I don't think of it as a religious exemption, but look at it this way. Let's say this kid's dad is in there working in that factory and the kid just is there with their dad and they happen to be working at the time because dad's keeping an eye on them.
For 8 hours?
I'm not, it's a loophole.
I mean, it's hard to happen to do anything for 8 hours. Right.
Well, and again, you don't really have people reporting this either, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if the parents are fine with it, who's going to report it?
Who's going to report it? Yeah.
But this is a good example of like when these kids are so young like that, they send them to work, right? They do homeschooling, they teach them, but they don't teach them anything they need. They don't give them any critical thinking skills. They don't teach them the skills they need to go out in the world and survive.
I mean, that would be utterly counterproductive to the whole cult situation.
Obviously it would, but it's an atrocity that these kids, they don't, you know, even if they escape, like what are they going to do? They don't know how to live out in the world. They've got to learn all that on their own if they ever get out. So that's another big problem. Now, as we've said, they had some very anti-Semitic beliefs, but it wasn't just, you know, they were just racist against Jewish people.
That's usually how that works. I mean,
according to some of their documents, Spriggs has said that slavery was a marvelous opportunity for black people.
Oh, dear God.
Because they're supposed to be servants to whites, according to the Bible. And he's also said that...
Wait. Did I miss the part in the Bible where it talks about race relations between blacks and whites?
Yeah, you know what? I never actually saw that in there myself. But apparently Spriggs did.
Seems to be a book mostly about the whole Jewish people, right?
Mm-hmm. And also believe that Spriggs said that homosexuals deserve no less than death. So they're very...
Not exactly a progressive bunch.
No, very closed-minded to anyone that's not the, straight white folk.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got some troubling beliefs, but still, to me, I find the beating the children to be by far the most disturbing thing.
Yeah. Child abuse is probably worse than racism.
Well, it definitely is, but I find it to be, it bothers me a lot that they've done this to these kids.
You probably wouldn't know that from Twitter, but
Now, as I said, they've expanded a lot over the years. They're all over the world at this point. They got a lot of membership. There are Yellow Delis all over the place. You should look at the website. All the
Do you know how
locations
many
of
there
Yellow
are
Deli.
off the top of your head?
I don't know exactly how many there are. I could go to their website and try to count all the locations up, but I don't know if their website's up to date on it.
Are we talking less than 100?
Less than 100, yeah.
Okay.
But I say there's at least 30
Okay.
or more Yellow Delis. Plus, they have a lot of other businesses, right?
When you say all over the world, you mean outside of the States too?
Oh yeah. They're in several European countries
Okay.
and South America as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they're all over the place now. Gene Spriggs died.
Well, now I feel like, because we said at the first maybe we'd go eat there, but now I feel bad about giving these people money.
Yeah, exactly right. Though I'm so curious, man.
I am too, but like if I thought that sandwich I was eating was going to, like the money I paid for it was going to abuse a child, like
No, I completely agree with you on that. Maybe we could go in
maybe
and
we just
get like a glass of tea or something
okay, fair enough.
and just kind of spy on them for a few minutes.
Maybe I could justify that.
Yeah. Now, Gene Spriggs died in January of 2021,
That's a
but
shame.
the 12 Tribe seems to be going strong still.
You know who took over?
No, I've been trying to find out who the new leader is, and I can't. Maybe they're just ruled by like a council of their elders. At
I
this
wonder
point.
if that could mean that there's some sort of like internal power struggle going on.
There could be, though.
I mean, you remember what happened with Scientology after
Oh,
L. Ron
yeah.
Hubbard's death?
Yeah.
Like those people went to war.
hmm But in all the articles I can only find that Spriggs died. I can't find anyone taking over. And I've went all over their official website and can't find anything about any leadership either. It's hard to say. Now, they're still around. The allegations of child abuse don't come out nearly as often, so maybe that's toned down.
Mhm.
But like I said, I have seen more recent interviews from the 90s where they're talking about we use a balloon stick now, but
That's reassuring.
I feel like they probably still do it. Like that was such an ingrained belief in them, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine how it would be different now. Like, how do you go from communal abuse of children to perfectly progressive on that issue?
Yeah, I don't think you can. And honestly, I don't think most cults really change that much. I mean, you could look at
Again, I think that's
one.
one of those things that would be counterproductive to the whole cult atmosphere.
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of changing going on.
hmm And even if you decide to change, how do you do it without, when you're so spread out, when you have no, direct supervision over all your other communes? How do
Yeah.
you make things change there?
It's a good question.
Now, I think it's just more of an issue of, I feel like it's an issue of no one reporting it because, these parents aren't going to report it, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they believe in what they're doing. They're brainwashed.
And here I thought it was just a sandwich shop with a pretty cool sign out front.
No, and I've heard a lot of people say they thought that that they were harmless, this particular cult.
That does not sound harmless.
No. If they didn't beat their kids, I'd say, yeah, they're probably kind of harmless. I mean, they might take people's money and stuff.
I mean, like, maybe that's when they're comparing it to other cults.
Right. Yeah, well, no, because some other cults have done a lot worse stuff than this.
Like, if you're comparing it to, like, what's the one where they thought they were going to the spaceship?
Heaven's Gate?
Heaven's Gate, yeah.
At least all of them did that of their own volition.
That's true.
It's not like
Jonestown where they were
Yeah.
forced to drink cyanide. Yeah.
Now, I would like to note, though, that a lot, there's not that many of them, so I should say a lot, a handful of people who've left this cult, even some more senior members, have accused Spriggs of not living the way he preaches.
Well, that would be really surprising, Daniel.
He had his own house that he lived in away from everyone else with televisions and fancy clothes.
You mean a cult leader exploiting the funds and resources of his own flock to
Shocking, isn't it?
live a high lifestyle?
Shocking.
That's really surprising, Daniel. I mean, you wouldn't expect that out of like a decent cult leader.
No, you would not. I do wonder at this one, though, how they managed to get as much of a population as they had. I mean, I just don't see the draw of going to live communally and working in this deli.
You don't, but you're not their target demographic.
That's true. That's
Daniel.
very true. That's very true. And honestly, it's sad, but I think it's true that there are probably a lot of people in there that are there just because they have some sadistic thing about hurting kids. That because obviously when kids are getting beat for 3, 4, 7 hours at a time,
God, that's horrific.
there's something more than punishment going on there. Obviously,
Right.
And even if Spriggs didn't necessarily share those feelings himself, he obviously thought that these children deserved to be treated that way.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I mean, this is the same dude that said that he wanted to break their spirit by
break
force.
their spirit. Mm-hmm. To make them a good servant of God.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the reason.
It's sickening, but of all the cults I've researched, this is one of the tamer ones, actually. And
I mean, I can understand
scary.
that, but that's just relative to the other,
Relative
how
to the
fucked
other
up
ones,
other
yeah.
cults are. So
No, there's some pretty bad ones out there.
if you enjoyed this segment from the Fact and Suspicion podcast and want to hear more, you can find the full episode here on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, or just about anywhere else you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.